Welcome to Cut the Crop, keeping you in the know about everything you grow. Researchers, growers and other interesting folk delivering insights and information on topics ranging from agronomy to profitability. Brought to you by the Foundation for Arable Research.
Hello and welcome to Cut the Crop. I'm your host Anna Heslop, and today my guest is FAR's Owen Gibson. Welcome.
Welcome, Anna.
Owen is involved in a lot of projects at FAR, but we're here today to talk about a new one, and it's a new sort of demonstration site that's being set up in the back paddock at FAR's Chertsey research site, just outside Ashburton. So, Owen, tell us about this new project. What's it all about?
Well, this is a new project that came about with the back paddock that we've got at Chertsey. It's underutilised and it's a nice big area, and we thought it would be a great opportunity to run a side-by-side comparison with different farming techniques. So originally we were thinking about doing cultivation, but it wasn't going to work in a small area. Then we thought, why don't we look at a future farm system versus a conventional best practice system?
How do you define that current best practice system?
The current best practice system, we've got a farmer group that's helping us lead the conversation. So it's not just FAR that are making the decisions. So we're getting told by farmers of how they do it on farm, and to them, what is best practice to them. Versus a future farm system is, I don't know if we'd fully class it as future. It's whatever we can, we want to use as much technology in it as possible, but also it's just looking at different, it may be just sowing different crops at different times, different techniques, but we really do want to try to utilize new technologies as well.
So I see that you're calling it a demonstration site, not a trial. So tell me what the difference is.
So usually you'd see with FAR trials that we have small plot trials or larger trials, but it's always replicated so that we're running stats on it and to get meaningful data, like scientific data. Whereas this is just a pure demonstration, just two sides, the same management through each block. Obviously, the two will be different, but it just opens up a lot more possibilities of trying new techniques without having the hassle of trying to make replicated trials work, which is always a pain. So it allows us to have a big block that we can utilize bigger machinery and make it more relevant to what farmers use on their farm.
See, that's a good point. So what size is that back paddock? And, it's split in half.
So the full paddock's roughly 2 hectares or 2.5 hectares, but each block is going to be just under 1 hectare. So 36 metres by 200 metres long. So it's still small in a paddock sense, but for what we're trying to achieve, it's a lot bigger than what we usually do.
So it's not just a wee trial plot.
Exactly. And the big part of it is trying to get farm machinery to do it, farm-size combines, drills, cultivation. So it is more relevant to the Canterbury or New Zealand farmer, arable farmer.
So what sorts of things, I'm assuming this isn't just a one-off 1 year thing?
No, that's right. It's a 7-year project. So the benefit of us running it for 7 years is we can essentially go for a whole rotation. And as we know, most arable farms is a rotation based. And what you do 1 year makes a big difference to what you do the preceding years. So this allows us to see what we're doing in this year, how it affects the next crop. And that's one thing that we probably haven't done a lot with at FAR. So it's quite exciting to have a full rotation-based experiment.
Okay, so you said it's not trials, but you will be obviously doing some measurements and looking at stuff along the way, because otherwise you can't compare the future and the current systems.
That's right. So we're just doing things like at the moment we've put in processed peas. We've got a contract from Tallies. So each side is a separate contract paddock. So they'll all be individually harvested separately, weighed, and we'll be getting the money back for each separate one. So we can see what the profitability of each side is compared to the other, as well as just our standard things like plant counts, biomass counts, soil assessments, background soil fertility. For the future farming side, we want to try to use technology in it. So we're doing grid soil sampling. We're using satellite data for looking at the crop biomass, and also we're using NDVI and whatever else we can get our hands on, really. Soil moisture monitoring for different systems.
So you said down there at the moment, there's processed peas on each side of the paddock. So what's different?
So what we've done, the paddock came out of forage oats. So in the conventional system, we had cattle from a nearby dairy farm come in. We grazed the oats, and then we ploughed, disked, rolled, drilled, and rolled. In the future system, we left the oats standing. So we came in, sprayed off the oats, then we rolled them flat to make a biomass sort of mat on the ground to reduce weeds, and then we direct drilled in with a cross-lot drill. And that's allowed us in that system to get away without applying any pre-emerge herbicide. In the conventional system, we put a standard pre-emerge herbicide on the side, and it's looking really good. The future farm system is now, you can see we are just getting a few weeds, but we're not having any problem weeds. We've had crop inspections with tallies just last week, and they're happy with it to go without any herbicide to harvest. So there is some differences coming through, but the pea crop is definitely a set-up crop for the rest of the project.
Right. Okay. So are there any other differences you're noticing between those two plots at the moment?
In the direct drilled future farm system, we definitely had a increased moisture retention compared to the cultivated side, and that's been consistently roughly about 5 mils of water compared to the conventional
for soil moisture.
For soil moisture, and also I think we've got a biomass increase in the cultivated area compared to the direct drilled. So it's definitely a cost benefit to doing it. So it'll be interesting once we do get to the end of the season of how the financials work out. So in the future farm system so far, we've had 3 less applications of either cultivation or herbicide. So yeah, it'll be good to see.
So are you measuring greenhouse gas emissions?
Not so far.
I'm just thinking of your cultivation and your burning diesel, but then they don't count, do they? Because they go under fuel.
Yep. So it is something we could probably look at, but we haven't gone down that road to start with.
It's just a cost thing that you'd be looking at there.
Yep.
Okay. So what else are you going to be looking at in the long term? So
crop-wise is still up in the air. We haven't got an exact idea of what we're going into. Well, we will be going into a wheat, most likely an autumn wheat. The conventional system will probably put in a forage brassica and graze that before going into a wheat.
So hang on, when will your peas be harvested?
So the peas should be coming out mid-December, maybe late December if you look at the weather we've had in the last few weeks. And then you'll try to get another crop in before going into an autumn wheat. But we're just still coming up with ideas in a future farm system of maybe we'll have another cash crop in before going into a spring wheat.
So those are the sorts of discussions that you have with your farmer advisory panel?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we've got a farm advisory panel that make the decisions on this project. So we got 7 farmers and reps from Canterbury who are within this project making decisions, and then as well as FAR who are overseeing it as well. So I think it's a great opportunity to get grower involvement, and it's not just coming from FAR researchers of what's happening. So a big part of this is going to be looking at presenting our data at field days and having the farmer panel presenting the data rather than coming from FAR. And the other thing is we're very open to comments from anyone. If they have an idea of what we could do, like we can always get hold of myself or Chris Smith from FAR. And yeah, we want to get as much input as possible.
Because it's a demonstration. So it's like we tried this and it didn't work. That's a lesson in itself if it doesn't work. And if it does work, it's like, well, that's a lesson as well.
Exactly. It's what you're doing on your own farm. If you want to play around with a new crop or something like that, it doesn't always work, or it doesn't work to what you thought it may do. So we'll push the boundaries to a limit. It still needs to be profitable, and that's where we've made that count because that's what the farmers want to see. And when we're talking to our grower group, that's the first key message that comes up. Everything has to be profitable. So, it needs to work within the system.
So you just said you'll be having a few events and things. Are you getting a bit of interest in this?
Yes, so we've had Facebook posts, articles in the farm magazines, Ruralco magazine, and it seems like everyone that I talk to is very interested in that, and I think it's a great opportunity to showcase really farming in general, and also like a good chance to see what we can get, and it could be really exciting if we can get some of these new technologies that are coming out, sprayers, harvesters, whatever we can think of.
Well, thank you, Owen, and thank you, listeners. Have a great day on the farm.
Thanks for tuning in to Cut the Crop, presented to you by FAR. If you'd like to know more about any of the topics discussed or have any suggestions for future topics, go to www.cutthecrop.co.nz.